Welcome to the Professor Knits podcast. My name is Nikki, and I'm the professor who knits. If you'd like to find me on Ravelry or Instagram or visit my Etsy shop, you can find the information on the screen as well as below in the information section at the bottom of this video. So if you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back. I appreciate it. As you know, I had a trip to London and I was there for 10 days and I got back safe and sound just a day after the underground bombing. So I felt very fortunate to have already been gone and heartbroken for London because I've mentioned before it's my spirit animal city, if there was such a thing. Anyways, let's keep this positive. I had a great time in London, and I'll talk a lot about that in my stash acquisitions. But my knitting mojo was off. I was there for an academic conference, and my plan was to go to the conference, obviously present my paper, and knit my face off. And I did, but I have nothing to show for it. I mean, I have a little bit to show for it. I have one thing to show for it, really. I ended up frogging so much. I don't know if it was the jet lag or if I was rushing things and getting sloppy, but I ended up frogging a lot of what I did and restarting patterns. But that's okay. You know, at least I was knitting. It's all about the process at that point. And I still enjoyed myself, and I'm really happy with all the stuff I came home with. I think I was just so excited to be away from my kids. That sounds so terrible. I love my kids so much. My son turns 5 tomorrow, and my daughter's 1.5 years. And so it's hard to knit until they're in bed. So the idea of having 10 whole days, and plus, you know, I'm a mom, right? And I work, and it's hard, and it's just the idea of being by myself for 10 whole days was such a treat for knitting. It was also very lonely. I did miss them terribly. I was happy to come home. But yeah, I guess I was just, I don't know. I didn't produce as many finished objects as I envisioned, but that's okay, right? It's just knitting. So I'll get right to it, and I'll talk about my first finished object, which I finished before I went for London. I don't think I showed this on the last podcast. I think I was almost finished. But it's my Serenity Shawl. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I'm blanking on the name of the designer, so I'll put the information on the screen. It's a one skein project, so it's a nice small shawl, crescent-shaped shawl. It's got these beautiful garter, stockinette stitch, and lace panels that rotate through. So it's a nice, easy knit. This yarn is showing up much bluer on the monitor. It's more of a teal in real life. And the yarn is Le Petit Point Parisienne. And it's an MCN base that's got this gorgeous cashmere, so it's nice and soft, perfect for around the neck. And I love it. I didn't want to mix this particular yarn with any other yarns, so I did the one skein project. And I like a nice small crescent-shaped shawl for the changing seasons. I probably will only get a lot of use out of this in spring and fall, where I just want a little bit of insulation. Whereas in the winter, I'll wear more of the larger ones that you can wrap around a couple times and feel really cozy. So this was great because London, even though it wasn't cold, it was very rainy, which makes you feel colder. But then I was walking around so much and you know, overheating very quickly in that humidity. So it was nice to have something easy to wear. So I was very pleased with that. So that's my first finished object. My other finished object is a pair of mittens from the Salle Mitten Club by Skeindeer Knits. I joined her mitten club, and it's a series of 4 patterns, I believe, over 4 months. So September, October, November, December. The first of each month, she'll release a new pattern. And it was a real treat. I loved knitting these. It's been years since I've done any color work, and I really, really enjoyed it. I forget, you know, it's just stockinette stitch. It's not anything hard. If you can hold 2 strands of yarn, and you don't even have to do it at the same time, right? You can hold one, put it down, hold the other. It's not hard. What's hard, of course, is getting the stitches to be nice and even and have good stitch definition. So, you know, the stuff that Ellie does on Ellie of Skeindeer Knits is very impressive. It's not easy knitting, but the basic stranded work is not, it's not a complicated stitch. It's stockinette. If you can do stockinette, you can do it. Anyways, this was an example. This is the Mboden pattern. And this is an example of, I should have like 3 pairs of these mitts done by now because I've knit, I feel like I've knit them that many times. The first time I started out, I knit the cuff of one of them in London, and I picked up the yarn for them in London, and I'll talk about that in a second. And I realized I was knitting them on a size 4 needle. I can't think of what that is in millimeters, but they were going to be too small. There was just no way I was going to be able to do that. So I tore them out, and I re-knit the left glove on a size 5. And I realized pretty early on I probably should have gone up to a size 6 because they're quite snug, but they'll do. I've got small hands and they'll do. And if I think of anybody who's got a young daughter in the area, maybe around 9 or 10, it would probably be a perfect fit. But I'm such a selfish knitter, I'll probably keep them for myself. Anyways, so I knit the left hand, loved it, and then I waited until the plane home, because I got distracted by other projects. I waited till I was on the plane home, and it was almost a 10-hour flight, 9.5 hours. I thought, oh, I'll just knit the other one on the plane home. It's a day flight, so I'll be awake anyway. Free wine all day, right, on an international flight. Well, I realized after about 5 hours of knitting, I realized, and I was about halfway through, where I was set to finish it. I realized I was knitting the left hand again. So I tore it out, and the flight attendant who had been commenting, she's like, "What are you doing?" And of course I was flying Virgin Atlantic, and I don't know if you've flown Virgin Atlantic, because I refuse to fly United. They are like going back to the old style of flight attendants, where everybody's really, really well groomed. I kind of feel bad for them. It's probably a little bit sexist. Not a little bit, but very sexist, right? They have to wear high heels, they have to wear lipstick, they have to have their hair and makeup done, which I think is kind of, come on, you know, this is 2017. But at the same time, you know, there was all sorts of shapes and sizes and appearances, and they all looked so nice, and they all, I don't know, maybe it's this shallow, superficial, old-fashioned vintage person in me coming out, but I really appreciated the effort. Anyways, the one who was serving my aisle, one of them, she was always commenting every time she went by on how much she liked my knitting. And when she saw me frogging it, she thought I was insane, and I explained to her why. And so I frogged it, then I cast it on right away and got up and then knit the right side. And so I didn't finish the mitt until I got home and set aside another couple of hours to finish the top and then to do the thumb. So that was one example of how I just wasn't thinking. You know, I was feeling pretty cocky because the first time I knit it, it's a really well-written pattern. I made a couple of mistakes here and there that it was my fault, not the pattern's fault. So when I got to doing it a second time, I was really excited to do it right. And then I was sloppy and didn't go to the opposite hand chart. So, love it. I can't wait. The next pattern in the club doesn't come out for another 10 days, I guess, 11 days. So I think I might knit a couple of more pairs of this pattern as gifts. My daughter's daycare teacher, she's new and we've only known her for about 6 weeks. I think she's a pretty knit-worthy person. The way she treats my daughter, the way we interact, the way she makes us feel when we pick up our daughter and drop her off is like nothing I've ever known. And every time Amadea, that's my daughter's name, every time she goes in with something knit by me, or hand knit by somebody else, she's just gushing about how beautiful it is. She's a knit-worthy person. I've only known the woman for 6 weeks, and I know she's knit-worthy. So I think I might knit her a pair. I don't know if she'll get a whole lot of use in these mild Knoxville winters, but if you're out walking the dog or whatever, it's really nice to nice and cozy. And a conversation piece, everybody comments on them. So that's it for my finished objects. I should have a cowl finished that I was knitting in Brioche. I jumped on the bandwagon for Brioche. But I messed it up really badly. I was doing a one color brioche on a speckled yarn I dyed, and that might have been my first mistake. I've been told now, and I was doing it in the round, I've been told that I should do, when you're learning brioche, it's fine to do it flatter in the round, but you should do two contrast color, and you'll understand it better, and you'll be able to make sense of it. So thank you, Jane, probably Jane, if you're watching. I brought my cowl in with me to Loop when I was visiting Loop, and showed it to her, and she almost fixed it. She's a really good briocher, and she almost fixed it, and when she got to my major mistake, she said, no, you can't. I can't fix this. This is brioche, and this particular thing can't be fixed. So because it was just a practice cowl, I frogged it. I like the yarn too much for it to be a waste. But now I feel like I can approach another brioche pattern and actually do it properly. So I should have had a third finished object, but I frogged it. I'm not going to show you the yarn or anything. I'll just wait until I'm knitting with it. So what about some works in progress? I've only got 3 right now, which again is pretty darn good. One is the slope tank top that I'm not going to show because I have made no progress on it since the last time I podcasted. It's the linen tank top, slope tank top by Shibui Knits, Shelley Anderson for Shibui Knits. I just wanted to knit with wool while I was away. Understandably, I was in London, right? And since being back, I've been focusing on other stuff. I guess I'm just sort of disappointed because I love the pattern. I don't love the yarn, but that's because it's linen, and I think I'll love it eventually. I'm just kind of disappointed because I'm not really going to have a chance to wear it. Even though it's still warm here in Knoxville, the air is changing, right? You can feel it. So if I don't get the thing done in a week from now, I'm not going to be able to wear it. At least not as a tank top. I'd have to wear it over another shirt or something. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Hopefully it'll be finished for the next time. So another works in progress that I started right before I left and then had a lot of problems with it is the Sorrento Shawl by Fairy Little. She's another podcaster. She's another Canadian. If you're a new podcaster, I'm an expat. I'm a Canadian living in the US, so I like to favor the Canadians. What's her name? Marsha something. Again, I'll put the information here. It's her Sorrento shawl, which is beautiful. It's a crescent-shaped shawl, 3 colors. And I haven't gotten very far because I've torn back this lace section so many times. And it's not, again, it has nothing to do, it has nothing to do with the pattern, it's me. Every time I got to the end of this section, I'd either be like 30 stitches over or 30 stitches under my stitch count. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. At least I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And I finished it again, and again, I'm way, way, way over stitch count. But this kind of shawl, where you're just constantly increasing every row, I don't think I'm going to worry about it. I don't think I'm going to tear it back again. I'll think about it. But I think I know what I've been doing wrong, and it's my own knitting. When a lace pattern calls for a wraparound on the purl stitch, I wasn't doing the extra, when it asks for a yarn over, pardon me, on the purl stitch, I wasn't doing it right. I wasn't doing that extra, so that I would end up like 30 below stitch count, because I'd be, oh, I'm already, the yarn's already in front, ready to purl. Why is she asking me to do yarn over? I wasn't going around again. Because I haven't knit a lot of patterns that have called for a yarn over on the purl stitch. And then what was happening is when I would be knitting the next row, when you'd have that extra wraparound, instead of just letting it fall, when I got to it fall and create the big hole, I would try to knit it through the back loop, thinking I couldn't let that thing fall off the needle, and then I'd end up with too many. At least I'm figuring it out, right? I figure I can make all the mistakes in the world, because that's life. The key is that I figure out what I've done wrong. And so now I just need to decide if I'm going to tear it back again. I think I might, because it's such a beautiful design and I'm using really nice yarn. I'll talk about the yarn. And I want it to be done right. I don't know, maybe I should just not worry about it. Okay, so what are the yarns? Well, the gray yarn, which is the base color, is my yarn that I've dyed in my asphalt colorway. On my strut base, it is 25% nylon, 75% superwash merino, asphalt. I really like this color of gray. It's kind of like a charcoal, but it has more lighter hues in it than a charcoal. Just reminded me of asphalt. If you go to my Etsy shop to check out my yarns, you'll see that I'm not very creative with my naming yet because I've just started. I'll get better. The contrast color, the first contrast color that you see there is a yarn by Hedgehog Fibers. I jumped on the Hedgehog Fiber bandwagon to see what the big deal was. In the Artifact colorway. And it's kind of got this very grayish pinky base with a lot of speckles. And I think I understand. It's the dyeing is quite impressive. Like, this particular colorway isn't one of the vibrant colors like Sorry Not Sorry or Rusty Nail or however many. But it's very well speckled. So I guess I understand. In terms of the yarn itself, it's great, right? It's nice and soft, but it's no different from a lot of others that I've knit with. And I think this is the 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon base. But yeah, I think it's all about the colors with Hedgehog. But again, this is only my first Hedgehog fiber, so if other bases are just like mind-blowing bases, I guess I'll have to find that out. But in terms of this particular base, it's all about the speckling. It is quite impressive, but I like it. Now the third contrast color will be, eventually, Blush, Nicole by Hugh Loco, and this is her Phyllis sock base, a nice sort of brighter pink color. Pink and gray, right? It's such a beautiful combination. So very happy with the yarns, especially, like I said, especially the Hedgehog Fiber. I know I'll like Nicole's yarn from Hugh Loco because I've knit with her yarn before, but I won't be getting to this one for a while. It's doesn't appear till almost the end of the shawl. So that is one works in progress whip. My other whip that I have been showering with attention is the Port Charlotte Pullover by Kate Davies. This is my first Kate Davies design. I'm going to put a picture here. And the first time I saw it from her book, The Island of Islay, or Islay, I'm not too sure if you pronounce the S. I was like, whoa, that is so cute. The entire book is beautiful. And so I decided to knit it. And I'm knitting it with, in the gray, a gray shade. It's pretty tough, right, to get a sweater's quantity in these little balls of very popular yarn from yarn stores. I bought this one from Wild and Woolly. Again, I'll talk about my impromptu yarn crawl. So I'm knitting the base of the sweater, and I love it. I mean, it's such a, her patterns are written in a way that I've never seen before. Like they do these, she does these steps. So just the layout, the formatting is very different, and I really like it. It's very well done. I haven't had any problems so far, but it's been pretty basic too, right? I've just done the rib, and I'm knitting stockinette in the round and doing the shaping as we go. So it's coming along quite quickly. And I get a little frustrated, not frustrated, but impatient because I really want to get to that yoke. And that's the last thing you do in the sweater. Normally when I do a sweater with any sort of detailing or color work, you start from the top and go down. So when I did my Lush cardigan, I got that lace panel, was one of the first things we did, and you get that satisfaction. This, you have to wait till the end. So once I'm done the body, then we'll separate from the sleeves. Then you knit the sleeves if you follow the patterns, and then you get to the yoke. So I can't wait, but it's probably a good thing because it's keeping me going, right? I'm not going to get to that point where if I'm done the interesting part and I just don't want to do the rest because it's the boring part. That's not going to happen with this project. And it's probably a good thing too because I'm not too sure yet what colors I'm going to do for them, the teardrops. I bought a bunch of different ones, as you'll see. I'll just hold them up. There, and then there's another blue. I just bought a whole bunch that I liked, but I might just actually do them all in one color, or maybe like two complementary colors. I don't know. I haven't decided yet because I like the way it's designed with the multicolors, but I have to remember that what I like and what I'll actually wear are often two very different things. Whenever I see really beautiful, highly stylized, colorful things, I become convinced that that's what I have to knit, and then I'll never wear it because I wear pretty sort of classic neutrals, a lot of grays, blacks, whites. I don't wear a lot of colorful stuff. Purple, but if I do wear a purple or a pink or a blue, it's a solid. Right, so I have to be careful. I have to really remember, will this match my wardrobe? Will it match my aesthetic? So I think I might just do all the teardrops in one color or one gradation, maybe, dark to light. I'll see. So the good thing about doing this sweater from the bottom up is that I have time to really think about it, keep my eye out for other colors. I mean, this mustard yellow is pretty. And I think that it's a small enough yoke that one ball should be plenty. So we'll see. I have time to not make any knee-jerk decisions and really think about what color I'd like the yoke to be. But I'm so excited. I love knitting it. And I think I'll be casting on a lot more Kate Davies designs in the future because, and this gets to acquisitions and stash enhancements, I bought the book. Inspired by Islay. I found it in one of the stores, and I thought, you know what? This is one amazing book in terms of the photography, the designs. I'm buying it, and the first thing I'm going to do when I get home is cast on Portia on my carbons, and these are the only size 3 needles I have, like at all, except for DPNs, but I'm not going to knit something on DPNs like this. I think this is it for my carbons. I think when I'm done, I'm done. I'm going to maybe buy some sock rockets. I don't know if you can tell, but if you look very closely at the link between the silver and the black, you see that big bump? It's only on this one. This one isn't so bad. It's a lot smoother. But this one, it is absurd. And I've talked about this before in a previous podcast, how I feel like it's getting worse. And I've owned these particular needles in the past, carbons, where I lost, like one of the ends came off, but I liked them so much I went out and I bought another pair. I didn't think to ask them to replace them. And now this is happening. And so when this sweater is done, or the next time I'm in a yarn store that carries good needles, I'm getting maybe some Addies or something like that. I don't like it anymore. I'm done. Carbons is over for me. My love affair with carbons is done. Anyways, inspired by Islay. I think I'm going to knit my way through this book. I'm going to knit my way through it. Inspired by Islay. Kind of rhymes, right? Who's with me? If you want to, let me know. I've only got 76 subscribers. Thank you all, by the way. So I highly doubt I could get a vibrant knit-along going with only 76 people, many of whom may not be interested in Kate Davies or knit-along, or whoever even watched this. They just subscribed on a whim. But I think I'm going to do it, and I'm going to give myself lots and lots of time. I'll open up a thread, a group in Ravelry. So come on over there, Sister Soldier, and join. And I'm going to give myself a couple years, maybe 2 years, because I don't want to knit exclusively. And how many? I think there's 10 designs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9. I think there's 10 designs. And there's a huge hat and a blanket. So there's some pretty big projects in here. And I don't want to rush. But I mean, look at that Farrell vest. And of course the OA is the most popular one. I think she unveiled it at, was it at Rhinebeck last year? I'm going to knit that for my husband. He'll actually probably wear that one. I will resurrect the Jones cardigan at some point. Isn't that good looking? The sweater and the man, right? He's kind of handsome. Where's the famous one that everybody was oohing and awing about when she unveiled? Oh, yeah. The OA. Sorry, I don't want to give anything away. Isn't that beautiful? I think that one might be next. Or maybe I'll wait till after Christmas and knit the other one for my husband for Christmas. So, if you're interested, you can go to Ravelry and buy her book, right? You don't get the beautiful coffee table version, but you can get it. You don't have to buy it at a local yarn store. And you can do them in whatever order you want, and I'll have prizes for each finished one. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'll figure it out, but I'm going to do it. So if anybody wants to do it with me, or pop in, whips are allowed. Even if it's a finished object, it's allowed. This will be my first knit along. Might be my last too, who knows? We'll see. Okay, so Stash Enhancements. That was a book I bought at Wild and Woolly. So there were 3 knit stores I decided to hit in London. The 3 most famous: Wild and Woolly, Loop, and I Knit London. Now, I've been to Loop before, but I'd never been to the other 2. And so one day I went to Loop, and then I went upstairs. And I was so warmly greeted by Jane and Carol, I think her name is. I can't remember now. But Jane and I just hit it off immediately. She was the woman who helped me with my brioche. And we chit-chatted about all sorts of things. She helped me pick out some yarn. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. This was the yarn she helped me pick out that I knit my Selbu mitts in. It's the garn, the CO garn. I think it's a Danish yarn. I don't have the labels anymore. They got lost on my way back. In the Samilla, 100% organic wool, non-superwash. Beautiful colors. Sort of a light, creamy, pinky color, and then a dusty, pinky, rosy color. So anyways, I met her. We had a great time chit-chatting. She helped me pick my yarn. She helped me with my brioche, all sorts of stuff. And then one of the women from downstairs came upstairs and joined in, and we were just all chatting, and it was a lovely experience. It was wonderful. So I decided, that was the Wednesday, and I said, I think I might come back for the knit night, because I knew Ellie from Skeindeer Knits would be there, and I thought, well, if I go back home and quickly cast on the Selbu mitts and start working on it, if I have any problems, I can come back and ask Ellie. And I thought, well, maybe she won't be there, who knows, but I can come back for the knit night. And then I realized the conference was kicking off on the Thursday night. So what I did is I went back the Thursday before I went to the kickoff for the conference and just stopped in a few minutes before the knit night was starting because a lot of people were already there. And I got to say hello to Ellie. Hi, Ellie. I don't think she watches, but and she was incredibly kind and gracious. She helped me pick out a bunch of Jameson Shetland Spindrift yarn. I bought a sweater's quantity in this color. I don't know if these have names on them or just numbers. I think they just go by numbers. Osprey. I bought a sweater's quantity with some matching contrast colors, a nice sort of buttery yellow and a soft baby blue to do some more color work. I don't have a pattern picked out for it yet, but she helped me. There was some other lovely women there who helped me that didn't work there, but they were there for the knit night. And I completely put Ellie on the spot and asked if I could take a photo with her to put on the podcast. And she very graciously said yes. And if you watch her podcast, you know that she's very lovely, but she's also talked about feeling kind of sad recently. And she was so incredible. Like, she could have just said, look, who are you? And no, you can't just take my picture, right? Like, it's her private life. But she was incredibly gracious and kind and said yes and confirmed that, yes, I could use post it here. So I really appreciated it. It was very nice of her. Not only is she a fantastic knitter, but the woman knows her yarn and backstories to certain brands. I mean, she's a fountain of knowledge when it comes to yarns. So that was my loop experience. I bought a sweater's quantity of Jameson Shetland Spindrift, a couple of skeins of this Dutch yarn for my mitts. I didn't have a chance to go back to loop to do any actual knitting there, but I really enjoyed my experience there, I must say. Then on Saturday, I was hanging out at the conference and I had already presented my paper. It had gone very well. And I was looking at the afternoon and I thought, oh, I'd rather just go and check out Wild and Woolly and maybe I Knit London. And for part of the conference, we had to go to the Temple church. We didn't have to. I mean, it's a beautiful church because it's a medieval church. And I've been there a lot, but I wanted to go and catch up with some colleagues who were presenting papers there. So I went and I realized, aha, we're down by the embankment and I Knit London is just across the street. So when everybody was heading back to the main headquarters for the conference, I took off and I went to I Knit London. And I have to say it was an okay experience. Definitely, I wouldn't make a special trip again. But they did have some wool mice there, so I picked up some wool mice. Doesn't this look like candy? This is so expensive, but it's understandable because you get 150 grams, right? It's a lot. Although it's only, well, yeah, and it's close to 800 yards for one skein. But I just looked, I'm like, this looks like candy. So this is my second wool mice. It's so good. And I haven't knit with it yet, and I haven't knit with my other skein yet. I don't know. It just feels like this is part of my yarn collection. It's not going to be part of my stash, but my collection. I'm going to, I don't know, display it or something. It's just so beautiful. So I picked up some wool mice, and then I had heard a rumor that I Knit London is closing down, or at least relocating or something. I don't know. This is just purely gossip. And that the owner, he's heading home, wherever that is in the UK, but that he'll still continue to dye yarn. So I thought, well, if I ever come back, when I come back to London, I will always go back to London, right? That's my town. I probably wouldn't go back to that yarn store. I just didn't care much for their selection. I do like the fact that you could drink there, but I didn't drink when I was there. I decided to pick up a couple skeins of their specialty hand-dyed yarn. I knit or dye. I picked up this beautiful, it's weird. It's blue in the monitor, but it's full-on green. like an aquamarine green in real life. Like it's way bluer on camera. So this is the Ziggy Stardust color base, which has supposed to have 5% stellina in it, but I don't see any stellina. Maybe a couple of hairs here and there. So I'm kind of disappointed. Had I looked closer in the store, I might have picked a different skein, because I'd say like maybe 1% stellina in here. So I'm kind of not that impressed, but I do love the color. And then I picked up another speckled one. This is the Shangri-La 100% superwash merino that I'll probably give to a friend of mine. I really like this one. I thought it was very versatile and very vibrant colors. And then that'll be my souvenir yarn from I Knit London in case they do close down. What else do I have? Then I went to Wild and Woolly. I thought to myself, I'm not going back to the conference. I've been seen. It was a big enough, it was a small conference of just specialists, and we all know each other, but it's also big enough that there's multiple sessions happening at the same time. You know, I don't know when I'm coming back to London. It could be a year or two, and this is my last day because I couldn't go back. Wild and Woolly was closed. I couldn't go back on the Sunday for sure because I had to be at the conference. And Monday she was closed. So I thought this is my last chance. So I played hooky and went to Wild and Woolly, and I'm so glad I did. What an amazing, amazing store. Tiny, but so friendly. The owner was so nice, and I just loved her selection of yarn. And what's so funny is that unbeknownst to me, the Great London Yarn Crawl was happening that day. Thank goodness I didn't know about it. Because if I had known about it, I would have just gone to that all day, and I wouldn't have even gone to the conference, and that would have looked bad. But anyways, I found out at I Knit London that this was happening and that I had just missed them, that they were on their way to Wild and Woolly, one group of them. I thought, oh geez, I don't want to get caught up in those types of crowds. So I waited, I took my time to get up to Wild and Woolly, hoping that they would have moved on by then. So I got to Wild and Woolly, and a group was just leaving, so I waited, and then I got sort of full attention from the owner and her helper. Bought my Inspired by Islay, and then another group showed up. And who was with them but Ellie from Skeindeer Knits? So I said to her, I was joking with her, like, I promise you I am not stalking you. I'm a huge fan, but I'm not stalking you. So anyway, she was there, and she helped me pick out more yarn. And that's where I bought all of the Jamieson and Smith for the Port Charlotte sweater. If I don't know why I feel compelled to tell you all where I bought each skein, but anyways, she once again was incredibly helpful with all sorts of information about the background of some yarns that we were looking at. We just had a lovely conversation about academia and London and knitting, and you know, she was once again very lovely. And then I bought a travel knitter in the beautiful Double Happiness red color. It's the most beautiful red I've ever seen. And I'm just kicking myself. This is her BFL Super Sock, 75% BF, 25% nylon. And I only bought one skein. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess because of the book, a sweater's quantity plus a little bit more of the Jamieson and Smith, plus with the exchange, plus I had already bought all the other yarn at Loop and at I Knit or Die. I was just feeling a little like, oh my God, what am I doing to my bank account? But I wanted to make sure I bought a travel knitter. What was I thinking? I should have bought a sweater's quantity. 3 skeins in a fingering weight is a sweater's quantity. Oh well. I suspect, given how beautiful travel knitter's colors are and how popular she is, in the UK anyway, that I'll see her again. I'll see her yarns again, and I'll remember not to make that mistake. But this will be either a beautiful pair of socks or maybe a hat. Nice hat. We'll see. So I did a fair amount of damage. I came home with a lot of yarn. But most of it were the Jameson and Smith and Jameson's Shetland, which are affordable, right? I mean, you're still looking at $50 or $60 to get a sweater's quantity, but that's better than $150, right? All right, well, I think I've rambled on enough here. Have a great rest of September. Fall is in the air, which is wonderful for us knitters, isn't it? And stay knitting, stay warm, stay safe, get your knit on, and spread the love. This world really needs it